assessment has concluded that Nathaniel, Gareth and Stacey Train acted as an autonomous cell and executed a religiously motivated terrorist attack. What we've been able to glean from that information is that the Train family members subscribe to what we'll call a broad Christian fundamentalist belief system known as premillennialism.
So that wasn't made up by the Queensland Police Service. It's an actual thing. It's his view that Christ will return and usher in 1,000 years of rule as mentioned in Revelations. That would make a lot of Christians premillennialists.
It's a belief system that comes from Christian theology. Now, I'm not an expert in that, but in its basic interpretation...
And she's careful to say that she's not an expert, even though you can just go to Merriam-Webster and get the one sentence as to what it is.
Is that there was a belief that Christ will return to the earth for 1,000 days.
And she's reading that from a document prepared by a researcher at Queensland Police. And I refuse to believe there was a typo from years to days. How could that happen? So this has to be on purpose. And these kind of mistakes are like a get out for down the track. They sort of place them there in case they need to say, oh, well, actually, you can really discredit what I said because I got it wrong. So you don't really pay attention to that because there's another message that's in this little talk she's got going.
And provide peace and prosperity, but it will be preceded by an era or a period of time of tribulation, widespread destruction and suffering.
Now, looking at her face, is she just talking about widespread destruction and suffering? Or is she threatening it, being part of the other side against us?
Now, what we've been able to elicit from all that material that we've examined, particularly Stacey's diary notes...
What if they'll release parts of the diary that she's referring to? Because unless it's similar in scope to the Unabomber's manifesto, then her claim that all that material could be just a couple of pages of Tracy's thoughts for the day, whatever day that she's entered into a diary, because that's typically what you do. You don't normally, make a terrorist doctrine in a personal diary, but that's what they're going by.
And we think.
How's the look at her face when she goes, we think? The reason she's done that, because at the start they said we've concluded, and now she's dialing it back to, well, it's no longer a conclusion, we just think. So, again, that's part of just unwinding all of this terror stuff. They just want to say terror, but then not be able to come back and be questioned about it.
That a range of different things help contribute to their belief in this system.
The range of things she's about to mention is what it's really about. Maybe you've already guessed it. But this conflation of supposed Christian terrorism, well, there's no listed terror organisations for legal purposes. So that's not what this is about. It's just to falsely link terror with the views of ordinary Aussies on these topics.
So the COVID pandemic, climate change, global conflicts.
So there are three very current topical subjects that if you start to talk about them probably against the government's policy, well, you might even be a terrorist. Questions such as, gee, what's going on with all these excess deaths straight after the jab program? Gee, it's cold today. Is the climate really changing? I'm getting pretty old. I haven't noticed it. And what are we doing in a war that's got nothing to do with us? Why is an Australian taxpayer footing the bill? And she says it so matter-of-factly. So, we might start coming looking for you if you can start to ask those kinds of questions. But the fourth one, that's really going out on a limb. Listen to this.
Social disparity.
Now, the first three are deception perpetrated by her side. But that last one, that's a real thing caused by her side. And what I mean by her side, I mean the banks, corporations, global investors, and all those sellouts in government. And that's the inflation crisis, the transfer of hundreds of billions of dollars to banks that's now being lent back to us at inflated interest. Calling that out, they might not like you doing, because there's a lot of truth to it. And thinking about it, Senator Rennick, and Malcolm Roberts and Antic, Senator Antic, well, they've already been talking about this stuff. They're going to get a knock on the door. So this psyop deception is brought to you by Tracy Linford, Queensland Police Deputy Commissioner. And I just make mention, you've got to really appreciate the strides women have made in the world. And there's no shortage of women turning up to what used to be the preserved middle-aged to old corporate type men, selling out their own people for money and for profit, and sending the entire nation setting herself and vicariously her family, because they're the beneficiaries of her estate, against Australians and their families. Oh, do you want to do it? Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, Jacinda Ardern. You got the Finnish Prime Minister, Anna Bligh, the Queensland Health Minister, Kerry Chet in New South Wales. You've got a lot of women that are stepping up, and I've got to say, that's an achievement. That they are willingly prepared just to take the dollars and just look at all those kids as they drive past the school and go, I do not give a shit about you or your futures. That past diggers actually gave their lives for. And just one more thing, there's a lot of bonuses to be had, especially by the hierarchy in the various police associations and the higher up cops, to run these types of terror-related psychological operations. Like Victoria, they've had quite a few big ones recently in the last 5-10 years, particularly with the Jimmy Gargasaurus, and not to mention Mamima Sharma, remember her, the Brighton Siege. They've had a lot of fun. In New South Wales, they had Man Motus, the Minto guys, the Minto stabbing. The Queenslanders are, probably punching their fists on the table. When's our turn? This was probably slated for New South Wales, because remember, Nathan Train was originally here, and they've kicked up such a stink. Where's our cut? That they moved it to Queensland. All right, that's it for this one.